Well, it's interesting because Biden has not spent as much time here as some of the other leading candidates. In recent months, he's been out campaigning by folks like Mayor, former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Senator Sanders, Senator Warren. So it's interesting. He just hasn't spent as much time here. Some of them he hasn't put the resources in the state. So last week, right after Iowa, he said, "Okay, New Hampshire, help me come back." Then almost, a few days later, he started lowering those expectations a little bit. So it's not clear really what they're expecting out of New Hampshire. He's trying to say because there's that neighboring advantage from Senator Sanders and Senator Warren from Massachusetts and Vermont that it's going to be hard to do well here. But if somebody like like Mayor Buttigieg does well or Senator Klobuchar, the expectations sort of gets thrown out the window. The point that Biden has continued to make is, look at the first four as one set. Look, you can't just say Iowa and New Hampshire. You have to look at Nevada. You have to look at South Carolina. So you seem to be having the expectation of look at that as one separate game and then go from there. But that's going to be, I think, going to be tough for voters if they see, fourth place finish in Iowa, maybe a sluggish finish here. How does that show that you are the most electable candidate, which is what Biden's heart and center, this campaign has been. I'm electable. I can beat Trump. What happens when you're losing to Buttigieg or Sanders in some states, or even if you lose to Buttigieg or maybe Klobuchar here? Obviously, in these last few days, you have a lot of political tourists coming to New Hampshire. You have folks from Massachusetts and other places. So crowd size can be a somewhat wonky indicator in the last few days, but it just show enthusiasm. And again, people vote in Massachusetts at some point, in the primary process too. So it's interesting when you see these candidates with, who came into this race with lesser name ID, less organization, and now, they're having larger events than the former vice president of the United States. Well, it's interesting. Obviously Iowa and New Hampshire are overwhelmingly white states, and I talked to voters here saying, maybe New Hampshire does not deserve that privilege because it doesn't reflect the diversity of the Democratic Party. Though you look at those first two states, when candidates do well and they win them, they tend to have a fast track to the nomination in some cases. So for Senator Sanders, if he comes out and obviously the result in Iowa, he comes out and does well here, he has that big base here, and that's only going to build momentum as he goes into Nevada and South Carolina. When you look at Iowa, with that result, obviously above Klobuchar and Biden, who've really tried to make that centrist moderate lane key to them. If you look at obviously to the left, you have Senator Sanders, Senator Warren. Pete has become that that moderate candidate that voters seem both excited about, and they say is more centrist than his fellow rivals.